and the Executive Director of CAIR, Hussam Ayloush.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. What a pleasure seeing, mashallah, all the people who love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger, and love the people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and love the people of the land of Isra and Mi'raj, the land of the prophets, the land of Masjid al-Aqsa. I just came and I apologize for being a little bit late. There was another event happening at the same time at the Islamic Society of Orange County, and mashallah the masjid had similar crowds, mashallah, and I know there was another one happening in Yorba Linda, and another one happening in Corona, mashallah, my city, and another one in Fontana, mashallah. And this shows, alhamdulillah, this is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah placed the hearts of the ummah with Palestine, with Ahlul Palestine, with the people of Palestine. May Allah keep them steadfast. What I wanted to add, what we heard, mashallah, actually give us the foundation that will allow us to be steadfast, because we're part of this battle. Everybody is on a thagr. Everybody is part in this battle of haqq versus batil, versus falsehood. The battle for liberation, the battle for human dignity, the battle against bigotry and apartheid. And everybody has a role. And we can't continue with the role unless we know the history, because otherwise they misinform us, they keep us confused. And we can't sustain a battle without having a right connection and right purpose. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So alhamdulillah, I'm so happy that I get to say a few words after that foundation. I mentioned today in the khutbah, actually in Yorba Linda, I said, if anybody watches the news and doesn't know about the history of Palestine, if you're an average Joe, as they say in America, and you just the last 6 days, what you've been hearing, especially starting Saturday, you would think that region, Palestine, Gaza, Israel, is like some resort, Hawaii resort. You know, everybody lives in peace and harmony, and Israel is doing charitable work for the Palestinians, feeding them, building parks, maybe amusement parks. And then suddenly out of nowhere, these lacking of gratitude Palestinians, unprovoked, because that's the buzzword, unprovoked, decided to go and attack Israel. And then every hypocritical politician, starting from our shameful, spineless president, to the members of Congress, to the assembly members, to our Orange County supervisors, like parrots, parroted the Zionist narrative. We stand with Israel, poor Israel, unprovokedly attacked by these Palestinians. And let's make it clear, no Muslim rejoiced the death of an innocent person. Nobody celebrates the death. If there were children or women or innocent people who had nothing to do with anything, we will never rejoice. We're not like them. We don't do that. I don't know the details of what happened, but that's clear. But the reality is, when every one of these elected officials comments and talks about unprovoked and Israeli innocent people dying, while forgetting that actually the truth is, what has been happening in Palestine was not something that started on Sunday, October 7th. It is something that has been going on, that started 75 years, as Sheikh Mustafa was talking about. For 75 years, the Palestinian people had to endure death, murder, apartheid, occupation, dispossession, the loss of their land, the loss of their cities, the loss of their dignity, the humiliation at the checkpoint, humiliating the husband in front of his wife and in front of his children, humiliating the wife in front of her husband, humiliating the children, killing men, women, taking hostages. You know, they're talking about hostages. Thousands of Palestinians are held in Israeli detention centers, torture centers, with no charges. This is called administrative detention, meaning they can hold you and renew it 6 months to 6 months, keep renewing it, could go on for years without ever charging you. This is hostage. Suddenly they're complaining about Palestine. I asked one friend of mine, at least maybe he used to be a friend, said, if your own wife or your own son was taken away from you, from your home in the middle of the night, and 6 months after 6 months kept in prison and under torture, and there's no way for you to get them out, what would you do? Said, I would go crazy. I would go and kidnap somebody to replace them. It's not something I condone, but when you're in that position, when you place Palestinians in the largest open prison in the world, open air prison, it's actually a concentration camp now, extermination camp. the most densely populated place on earth, 2.3 million people in that place. And you impose a siege for the last 17 years. Take away their humanity. Food, drink, air, access to sea, travel, transport, you can't do any of that. And when I mention that, I know some people not like what I say, but I'm going to say it. Gaza has two countries that surround it. Israel is in the north, and who's in the south? Egypt. And Egypt has been more guilty with the siege than Israel, by the way. As criminal as this apartheid regime is, the truth is, the Knesset of Israel one time had to vote asking Egypt to ease the siege. Said, you know what, we want to choke the Palestinians, we don't want to starve them. Please allow some trucks to go in. That is the sad thing. The problem is the Palestinians are not only dealing with the apartheid regime, but a lot of the agents of the apartheid regime. This meeting cannot be held in any Arab country, maybe except one or two. You know, in most of the Arab countries, posting in support of Palestine will get you in trouble. In some countries will get you deported if you're not Emirati. Oh, I don't want to mention the name of the country. The Imam of the Haram in Mecca gave the khutbah al-Jum'ah today. Wallahi, I felt bad for him. I was listening, he was making dua, he didn't know what to say. He's like, almost like navigating through a landmine field. May Allah help our brothers in Palestine, as if they had an earthquake. He couldn't even mention the word Zionist or Israel one time. May Allah protect our brothers, as if some flood or some earthquake had hit them. Poor guy, I don't blame him, because he knows if he mentions the word, what will happen to him. So we need to know what's going on, so we are, as Muslims, knowing that we have an amana to deal with. Why is that? We live in a place that has the most chance to help our brothers and sisters. The one who can help the brothers and sisters in Palestine are the people of Palestine, and they've been doing a good job. You know, in the Arab world there's a saying that says, when I grew up I used to think the Arab world is free and Palestine or Gaza is under occupation. When I grew up I realized the entire Arab world is occupied and only Gaza is free. Because truly the only one who's freedom is not just about land, it's about your dignity. It's about freedom, about when you have Izzah. You know, the difference between Gaza and Izzah is one dot. The land of Izzah is Gaza. Wallahi, the one that brings us honor. Every time we feel down as an ummah, one people that gives us that hope and bring us up alive is the people of Gaza. May Allah bless them. Allah chose them for something others couldn't have handled it. Allah chose them for that. Alhamdulillah ta'ala, we know that. We learn from them. So we have an honor to help them. We have the honor, a privilege from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be in a place today in America where we can make a difference. How is that? We need to address the myth, the lies. Do you know how much and who funds much of Islamophobia in this country? 85% of the funding of Islamophobia comes from Zionist organizations. The Robert Spencer, the Pamela Geller, the Daniel Pipes, and the list goes on. The Dershowitz and the Horowitz, and you name them. 85%, you know, Dr. Hatem Bazan thinks it's probably even closer to 90%. Why is that? Because they want to demonize the Palestinians by making sure that the people who might speak up about the Palestinian cause and their plight in America and make a difference are busy, distracted. We're defending ourselves. Oh, we're not terrorists. We're not. The reason they defame our Prophet, the Quran, Islam, is so keep us busy. So we wouldn't be able to tell the truth about the crimes, the war crimes they're committing, as we speak in front of everybody in the world. But our elected officials are shamefully immoral and lacking spine. Couldn't even mention the Palestinian lives that are being killed. Some of them are cheering for Israel to go and commit a genocide as we speak now. Israel is asking 1.2 million people to evacuate. It's almost like, it's like asking the fish in a tank, move away, we're going to be shooting here. Like, where would they move? You don't even allow. Today Israel announced cutting off of water, fuel, gas, medicine, everything. Hospitals going to run out of fuel today. Basically children, babies in incubators will not have oxygen because of, and Israel said, well, that's not our problem. We blame Hamas for that. No. Nobody forced you to kill children. 500 children have been killed in the last 6 days. And our wimpy, immoral elected officials couldn't even say a word. They've been quiet. If you want to talk about a human life, we're good. We're good with that. It's noble. But when you're silent for years and decades, as Israel is killing, murdering, humiliating, harassing, abusing, occupying the Palestinians for the last 7 years, and you couldn't even say a word, now you remember your humanity, I'm sorry, you lack credibility. You're hypocrites, and your hypocrisy stinks. And that is important for us to expose. Now, alhamdulillah, why do these things happen? As Sheikh Haifa said, Allah knows best. But we can guess. The best thing is it exposed the hypocrisy of Muslim leaders, or so-called Muslim leaders, fellow leaders in America, political leaders in America. Alhamdulillah, it exposes. It allows us to know who are the ones in our back stabbing us when we didn't know. There are many other benefits that Allah puts test in these things. It's a test for us. It's a test who responds. Right? حَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرَكُوا وَيَقُولُوا آمَنَّا. Right? Allah said, I'm going to test you. We are, as they're being tested, alhamdulillah, for everything. They're dead ones, inshallah, may Allah accept them as shuhada, as martyrs. But we're alive. We're going to be asked about what did you do to help and uplift our brothers and sisters and be their voice. So very quickly, I will going to give you a few things that we can all do, very simply. One, be informed. Attend these teach-ins. Read. There's no shortage of material from trusted sources that will give you the history, the importance of Palestine and Palestine for us as Muslims. There's an Islamic aspect. How many Sahabas were there, the Isra and Mi'raj before that, and so on and so forth. But also about the history, the modern day history of Zionism, what it stands for. It is one of the worst modern day ideologies that we're dealing with today. Imagine this supremacist ideology that allows itself to dehumanize people, to commit a genocide against them, slow one going on. So no, good to know, so we can be ready to involve. Next, be engaged. What we learned today is, as many activism we've done, alhamdulillah, we've gone through, we need to register the vote and we vote. That's good, but that's not where the difference is made. The difference is made when we engage. How many of us here have engaged in supporting candidates, city council members, state assembly members, members of Congress? How many of you know a member of Congress where if they're going to write a statement, they're going to call you? How many of you know school board members, teachers, principals, etc.? Alhamdulillah, enough of us, but not enough to make that difference. What we've learned is the Zionists have that connection. And they were forcing, they were sending they had a template. I'll show you the templates coming from the various Jewish federations from ADL. It's a template of what they asked him to say. This is, to the letter say, you should use this word. Don't use this word. Don't try to talk about the conflict. Don't talk about Israel. Use the word of terrorism. Use the word of this. Use the word. They tell them exactly. They write the statement and they push it for them and they pressure them to do it. Those who had Muslim friends were smart enough to say, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. So they called their Muslim friends, and alhamdulillah, the statements got a little bit balanced. But the majority didn't have one who's close enough. And some don't have a spine. Even if they had, they're not willing to. What they realize is the Muslim community is not that engaged. We're going to change that, inshallah, so we prevent the next tragedy from happening. Be engaged, run for office, volunteer, donate. Find out who are the city council members, because they're going to become assembly members and they're going to become state senators and members of Congress. And this is, I know it sounds like vague, but this is how we're going to do it. Be on the list of CAIR, the email list on AMP, American Muslim for Palestine. Get active with one of the political parties. You like Republicans, good for you. Be active with them. Democrats, good for you. Be active with them. Let them see your face. Let them hear your noise. And it's important for us. Next, inform others. How many of you are on social media? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, hopefully not. Not a lot of you are on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, so not a good thing, right? But anyway, you're there. Let's make best use of it. Don't use it for anything that displeases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Use it for, because what the Israelis do is they hire people. They actually hire people whose job is only first to cause fitna among Muslims, by the way. They do that. They speak. They bring people different languages, and on social media they're fighting Yemenis versus Saudis and Sudanese versus Egyptians and Pakistanis versus Indian Muslims, and they do that. It's good to keep us all busy. And alhamdulillah, mashallah, we're so easy, we fall for everything. We're naive. But inshallah, be smart. They pay people to spread misinformation out there about It is all about, I mean, they're actually filling the space. They're choking the space with everything is about, all the lies. Decapitated babies, rape of women. I mean, even our own president was repeating such lies to the point that the spokesperson of the White House had to deny what the president is saying. Basically, informally, that means he's saying he's a liar. Like the guy said, well, it's not very accurate. We don't know what he's saying. I don't know where he's getting that information. He's getting from Netanyahu, the bigger liar than him. So what is important is we spread the truth. Make sure you verify the information. Get on the list of the activists, the human rights organization, Jewish Voice for Peace, AMP, CAIR, and spread that information, because we have enough. We have 5 million Muslims. In California, we have 1 million Muslims. If most of us are active, we normalize solidarity with and for Palestine. Be loud, be proud, as Sheikh Haifa was saying. Be proud Muslim. Show your kafiyah, but also be wise. Like, don't wear your kafiyah and walk in the middle of the dark alley at midnight by yourself, right? Be smart, right? There are people who are crazy and they're fed a lot of information. So inshallah, be aware, share good information, participate in teachings, share with your friends and your classmates, especially youth is where the activism is happening. Alhamdulillah, the results are being seen on campuses across the country. It's shaking the ground under the Zionists. And last but not least, use this opportunity to expose the Islamophobes. Because there are Islamophobes among elected officials who are using and exploiting what's happening there to push their anti-Muslim agenda. We have 3 Orange County Board of Supervisors who made a statement that is one of the worst I've seen in recent times, when we thought we defeated Islamophobia. Get on the CAIR list, get the action alert, respond. If you live in Orange County, and I think most of you do, let them know that we paid attention to what they said, blaming Islam for the violence, barbarism, terrorism, as if Israel hasn't done anything, as if Israel hasn't caused the whole thing. The root cause of this issue, and that is your bottom line. When you talk to anybody, your root cause, and I'll finish in 30 seconds. When people talk about, oh, do you condemn PLO, do you condemn Hamas, do you condemn, say, listen, everything you don't like is a reaction to your ugly action. You don't like that ugly reaction, end your uglier action. What is that ugly action? Occupation and apartheid. Where today, if Hamas and PLO disappears, you know what? The occupation is not going to disappear. The abuse of Palestinians is not going to disappear. But I'll tell you something. If the occupation disappears, there wouldn't be a need. Not for PLO, not for Fatah, not for Hamas, not for anything else. Palestinians will get to live their life like any other nation on earth. Take care of their families, their lives, their homes, and everything else. Let's be proud. Let us not be intimidated by them. They're saying on their social media, they're saying, this is the time to intimidate Muslims. This is exactly what they're saying. This is the time to push them back. We're going to tell them we're not afraid. We're on the side of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, and therefore Allah, inshallah, will be on our side. We're on the side of truth. We're standing for something that is just, that is honorable. So when we look at the history and say, how did Muslims allow for the Nakba to happen in 1948? We're going to say Muslims prevented, inshallah, the second Nakba. And Muslims actually stood and did not let down Palestine and the land of Isra and Mi'raj and the land of Al-Aqsa. May Allah give steadfastness to our brothers and sisters there, give them victory and defeat their oppressors and their occupiers. Jazakumullah khair.
Alhamdulillah. So a reminder as well, in addition to what Brother Hussam said, one of the things we can do is also donate for the cause. So we have a QR code outside. You scan that QR code. This is one of the ways to donate, and the ICOI has vetted the organization that's going to be getting the aid to them, inshallah. We're just about at the end of our program. I wanted to open it up just for a few questions. The way we're going to do it is the questions should be, please be questions and not comments, and they should be about 10 seconds long maximum. Okay? You ready?
Yeah.
Jabber, go ahead. 10 seconds.
So, for you, so you were explaining, about, how Palestine was, Israel's Palestine. Can you explain about how Hamas was made and what's going on with that?
Okay, so good question actually, Jabir. What's the origin of Hamas and how did that come about? Unfortunately, we will not have time to get into the history of that. So it's going to be way too long and we're almost done. Any other questions that are good? Yes? The march, yes, the march tomorrow is going to be in Wilshire, in Los Angeles. It's going to be at 12:30, and it's at the Federal Building.
I think it was the
Israeli Embassy. It's at the Israeli Embassy, Israeli Consulate at 12:30 near Wilshire in Los Angeles, inshallah. Okay.
Near Wilshire, on Wilshire.
And there's another one in Barranca and what's the cross street? Culver and Barranca over here in Irvine as well, inshallah. One question from the sisters. Go ahead.
I'm a senior in high school, and I'm wondering if someone asks you about Hamas, how should you answer?
Okay, question for Hussam.
As I mentioned to you, don't get dragged into destruction. You're in America. I don't know. Tell them I can't. I mean, this is the truth. We're in America. We can't tell who is who in the details. Our concern is, and that is very important actually for the youth. Our concern is the big picture. We want Palestinians to be free. Who they elect eventually to be their leaders, that's their choice. I'm not here. I'm not going to play America and impose who the leaders are. They should the question of the Palestinians. Name calling or saying this good, this bad is no good for me. I don't know. All I know for a fact is, that's for a fact, Israel is the root cause of this problem because of its occupation, because of everything we talked about. So shift away from that. And as a Muslim, you can say, as a Muslim, if you ask me specifically, is killing of innocent people allowed? Say no. I will not condone that. And it's not a PR thing. That's true. We don't do that. Now, the politics of propaganda is difficult because honestly, I mean, we invaded Iraq, if you remember the first time, based on false information, whether it's the nuclear things or the incubators of Saddam Hussein's, in Kuwait and so on. So for us, I don't want to be pulled into warfare propaganda. We focus on what we know. Killing innocent people is wrong. That is what the Israelis do. And we don't want Palestinians to learn from the Israelis. Alhamdulillah, Palestinians have been role models and they have good teachers to follow. Israel is the one. Shift it back on them. And very quickly, for those who are high schoolers and college, you have freedoms of speech at high schools and colleges. You don't have freedom of speech at the workplace. Workplace is a private sector. You don't have that protected. So be careful how you engage with your boss. I would say if you have a specific question, call the CAIR lawyers and they'll give you an advice. Because it depends on who is your boss, how many Muslims, is it a global company or not, and so on and so forth. This is extremely important because we don't want people to lose their jobs. But on campuses, you are protected, but of course, again, use your wisdom. Don't say things you will regret. Don't say things that displease Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And most importantly, I want to make sure everybody gets that. Because we're a masjid with a history. We know that. The government agencies, whether it's in Israel or here, are very well known about sending agent provocateurs. Of all the masajid in America, this masjid knows that very well. They send people to a masajid and they will look at people who are mentally or spiritually or emotionally vulnerable and try to incite them to do something wrong. They might say, hey, let's go blow up this, let's go and harass this, let's vandalize this. They want for us to do that. Why? So they can say, you see, Muslims are in a campaign of terror and all of that. So if you hear anything that is questionable, bring it back to the administration of the masjid, because we don't want to make sure, inshallah, we don't have any information, but it has happened before. I want to make sure it doesn't happen again. You have 1.5 million legal means to advocate for Palestine. We don't need anything that is illegal.
Inshallah, that concludes our program. 2 announcements and we'll conclude with the dua, inshallah. First announcement is there's also a Global Village Festival in Irvine, and there's going to be a booth on Palestine over there. Recommended to come and check that out as well to support. Global Village Festival somewhere in Irvine, inshallah. Second announcement is that I was just told that the donations for Gaza are actually 100% of the donations will go directly with no overhead costs. So inshallah, that means that even if you are going to be sending your zakah, you can even give your zakah out early for this cause as well, inshallah. Let's conclude with dua. Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam. تبارك ربنا يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. Oh Allah, you are Al-Qawi. Oh Allah, you are Aziz. Oh Allah, you are the powerful. Oh Allah, you are the mighty. Oh Allah, you are in control of everything. Oh Allah, you have the power and nobody else has power over you. Oh Allah, grant victory to the oppressed. Oh Allah, grant freedom and liberation to the people of Palestine. Oh Allah, help the plots of the oppressors turn back against them. Oh Allah, help open the hearts and the minds of people to understand what is truly going on. Oh Allah, open the hearts and the minds of people to understand what the true message of Islam is. Oh Allah, help remove the propaganda and remove the false narratives and the false fake news that is being spread around about this issue and about all other issues. Oh Allah, help keep the people of Palestine, keep them strong. Oh Allah, help keep us strong. Oh Allah, help us to not despair. Oh Allah, help us to not be among the people who fall into frustration and then do not change ourselves for the better. Oh Allah, help us to learn the lessons that we're supposed to learn from this situation and this test that you are putting us through. Oh Allah, help this test to be a means for us to get closer to you. Oh Allah, help this test to be a means for us to improve and increase in our prayers. Oh Allah, help this test to be a means for us to come more to the masjid. Oh Allah, help this be a means to get out of the haram that we are doing and make our lives into halal. Oh Allah, help us and guide us at all times. Oh Allah, help us to see the truth as truth and let us follow it. Oh Allah, help us to see the false as false and keep us away from it. آمين. وسبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين. Yes, last recommendation from Hussam.
Because the brother asked me, how can we get active? Please get on the CAIR, go on online or go on Facebook, probably the easiest, or Instagram. Look for CAIR LA or CAIR GLA, so you can get on the email list or can send you the action alerts, the updates. The second thing is, in addition, as important as it is, 30 seconds, as important as it is to send relief, help, that's something every Muslim around the world can do. There's one thing nobody else can do but American Muslims, and that is advocacy. Support organizations, and I don't want you to say, oh, he's talking about just CAIR. Alhamdulillah, CAIR is one of them. But we need to support AMP, American Muslims for Palestine. It's specialized on advocating for Palestine. As you give for relief, that is humanitarianly needed, but also let's make sure that they have the tools to train the youth, speak up and organize and produce material, inshallah. Go online, it's a trusted organization. I have nothing to do with it other than I love what they're doing. Alhamdulillah, may Allah accept it, inshallah.
I wanted to ask you if you can